When I decided that I definitely wanted God to lead my life, He had to deal with me first. I had to deal with getting confident and getting vulnerable with my own story. Looking in the mirror, telling my own self my own story, and looking at myself and saying, JQ, your story is valid. You are okay. And you are on the other side. I had to get past thinking people would judge me. They're going to judge you. That's what the testimony is for. It's so that you can be judged.
Amen.
Right? I mean, that's what it's for.
Welcome back to Podcast on Wheels. I'm your host, Brian Smith, and today we have a special guest. I would like to introduce her as a mentor, and you're a mentor to me. So welcome to the
Wow.
studio.
Thank you. I'm excited to be in the space and the place, baby.
As you can see, we're trying to get her to show some energy here today. Normally, she's a little more lively than this, but we'll see if we can't get it going. Right here in North Alabama, you've made a name for yourself, a brand. What season or maybe time of life encouraged you to do this?
Listen, I have been through a lot of failures in my life, and transparency, really what caused me or what encouraged me to start this was I wanted to be able to write the legacy of my future and my daughter. I really did. I worked so many jobs in my life. I've done so many things in my life, and they were all determined by situations. And I wanted to stop living my life situationally. I wanted to start determining and making sure that I was in charge of what was going to happen in my future. And when I decided to, give my life to Christ and fully be committed to what He was doing in me and for me and through me, I gave up the ghost. And ever since then, baby, it's been on and popping. Now, not to say that it's always popping, but it is always on. See, when I keep God first, for
Right.
sure.
See, as that are watching right now, you already see why I brought her. She brought the energy, she's brought the faith. We're going to break down some business things. If you're not following her, go follow her on all the social media channels. Instagram, you have a pretty large following,
I do,
right?
yeah.
And as you can see, guys, follow her because you provide this type of opportunity, information, events,
Yep.
different things. Tell us a little bit about the space you're working in right now.
Well, right now, the main focus, the main project that I'm working on right now is on a project called Becoming Love. It's based out of Atlanta. It's mentoring kids in the production and film and creativity space. And then Healthy Living and Wine. And that is a wellness platform that I'm creating for people to understand the lifestyle of blending things that you love, live well, and habits that can coexist beautifully together. And so with that, I am able to share different ways that you can have a life, build a business, be successful, and do it all in God's name.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is really that simple, guys. And you guys who have been watching a few shows, you'll know, and it'll start
Yeah.
being a common theme with the guest. But tell me a little bit because off camera, I had a guest and we were talking about the creatives with the kids and the thing you're doing in Atlanta. Tell us a little bit more about that because my son, this is selfish, okay? I like
Okay.
to be selfish on the show
That's good.
sometimes,
You should be.
right? My son's 10
Okay.
and I named him after Hall of Fame baseball players.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And I played a little baseball and mom played softball and that was our thing. He is leading the drama club singing and doing this and singing karaoke at restaurants. And I'm like impressed. It's a different skill set, talent level. So that's why I'm
It
being
is.
selfish.
It is.
Right. And it's like, I envy that.
Wow. But you're so creative.
Well, yeah, because I have creative people around me. Yeah, this is all for cameras. I'm not JQ, guys. You see me in person, it's like, ha. No, we have fun with it. Right. But so you go and mentor those kids and how to be creative and be confident. All right.
Yes.
So that's important to me and how to give back to the kid. That's amazing. So tell us about that.
Well, I feel like the success of future is always in the generations that are in front of us, not behind us, right? And so what we learn as we evolve as humans has to be shared in order for them to build foundational skills and things that cannot necessarily be taught in schools. And creativity is not something that can be taught. It is something that you're born with. I feel like it's an innate skill. Now, it can be developed, and that's where the mentoring comes. So, something as simple as just take your son. He likes to sing, he likes to skill. In order for that to be something, a creative talent that can positively infect his future, it now has to be developed into a skill where he can make money, he can thrive, he can continue to grow in that skill set and in that talent, and he can feel like a successful, thriving person, correct? And that's where the mentorship comes in. We're all born with something innately, but if we're not given the skills to develop those things and to transfer those talents into something that is thrivable, then it's just a waste, you know. And so with the Becoming Love project, that's what we do. We take young people who are already in the creative space, and we help them build platforms, help them build the skills to develop that into something that they can thrive in, whether it's in the creative space of making money or whether it's in building a platform where they can share their talent. Currently for 2020, we are actually going to use those. I think we've selected 40 kids to make a film and create that film and submit it to film festivals. So then they can have an accredited ASCAP money making project with their name on it that they've contributed to. And they can take skill sets away from that they can use in every aspect of their life, every aspect of their development, even in their career,
Yeah.
even in their relationships. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's kind of what that Becoming Love project is all about.
That's so cool. And see, I didn't know that about you. I'm already learning.
Look at there. Ooh,
Like,
ooh, ooh,
boom,
ooh.
within 10 minutes, there it is. And I did my research. I actually did look you up a couple times because I was
Okay.
like, and it's been, I think it's cool. Somebody asked me the other day a show I was looking forward to, and I
Mhm.
mentioned yours in the capacity of a previous guest, and Lauren. She had said,
Yeah,
"Hey,
love
you got to
Lauren.
meet JQ. You got to meet JQ." And then time passes, and I see this and I see that, and then I show up at the golf lab, right? And it's like, there's the lady I've been supposed to meet for a year. So now, thank you for being so kind to join us so quick, you
Oh,
know,
most
but
definitely.
but it's such a cool thing to hear that you're doing that for the kids because I'm hearing a lot of similarities in maybe how you teach the business
It
owners,
is the
right? I
same.
mean,
It's the same. You know, and I think that what we forget, and we lot of humans, and I say humans because human characteristics are the same no matter what your age is. You know, it's like you. You know, you see these characteristics in your son when he was 1 and some of the same things, the characteristics when he's 10. You have some of the same characteristics. What we don't recognize is developing those characteristics is what allows us to use them as specialities,
mhm,
right? And so when it comes to our children, like I prefaced this whole thing with saying is they're our future. Generations to come are how the world sustains. You know,
mhm,
if we don't teach our kids now the saving and the loving grace and all the foundations of Christianity, then how can we expect them to continue to build the kingdom until Jesus comes, right?
right.
If we just say these things, but we don't live them, we don't give them visuals, we don't help them develop their skills of study. Learning how to study the Bible also means I learn how to study my notes for school, how I learn to study my skill set for a career, how I learn to study and develop relationships human to human when I develop my relationship with God. All of those skill sets have to be developed in order for you to just thrive as a human, not as a child, not as an adult, just as a human, period, right? And so, yeah, I do focus more on behaviors and habits when it comes to any platform, any place where whether I'm working with the kids or whether I'm coaching an adult. Because when it comes down to it, it's our habits, it's our behaviors, it's our responses, it's learning to be responsible with our emotions that transfer into successful humans and life beings.
Mhm. You reminded me, I'm going to tell you a story real quick and then I'll get to the next question because we have our 10-year-old Maddox,
Hmm.
and then we have an 8-year-old Brooks. And Brooks, his favorite sport is whichever season it is. Like he loves all the sports,
Yeah, I'm kind of like that
and
too.
he's pretty good. Okay, he's pretty good. And I'm watching him the other night, and we had our first scrimmage, and he's on a 7U team. Okay,
Okay.
well, one of his teammates didn't cooperate just like he wanted him to, and I saw
Mm.
him kind of throw his hands up, like, "Come on!" And we play hard in the yard. We go hard. We watch old Michael Jordan videos. Like we watch real basketball stuff for him to learn. Like, play hard, go hard. And he's like, come on, let's go. And I'm like, you can't let that emotion. And so then once we get in the truck, though, we have a rule where it's kind of like, hey, you remember this? Yes, sir. Got it. Cool. And then we let it be, right? Because he's a kid. He jumps out of the truck the other night and he looks at me. He goes, Dad, I think I got it figured out. He said, I think emotions and attitude may be the same thing.
I don't know.
And I went, so But if, he's recognizing that there's some similarities, right?
Uh-huh.
He's like, okay, if my attitude's here, I'm going to be able to handle that and not at least do this in the middle of the court, we hope. But the next question I have, when you're working with the leaders, the business people, because I want, in this show too, for them to gain a little bit of like, what's the taste of working with JQ
Okay.
so we can dive a little deeper. So where do leaders, would they lose their alignment? Identity, priorities, execution, kind of where do they lose that?
Ooh, I think in I think they lose that in trying to navigate life. I mean, that's real transparent. Shoot, I lose alignment transparently. I lose alignment every day. I have to wake up and be on rituals to maintain alignment. And the key word there is maintain. Because once you get something, it's like I coach my clients and I have to tell myself often, they sit in my chair. All right, JQ, I need to know what I can do to make $1 million. And I look back over their last 5 years. I have them write down their paychecks and their taxes for the last 5 years. And literally on a piece of paper, you've already made 1 million. Why you don't have it? So how do you make $1 million? Already made it. So really what you want to know is you want to know how you can keep and maintain $1 million, not really how you can make it, right? And that's where we start to focus on the habits, on the alignment, on the things that you've done that have maybe squandered it, or how you did not do it responsibly, or how on the positive end of that, the profitable revenue, the bottom line is what you brought home wasn't handled responsibly so that you could reinvest it and that it could continue to grow. We've all made 1 million. If you've lived past 50, you've worked for 20 years, you've already been a millionaire at least 3 times in your life,
Mm.
right? And so I think that we lose it not understanding the clarity or not understanding our habits and our behaviors.
Is it really that simple?
It's not it's really that simple to say.
It is that
It's
simple to
that
say.
simple to
But let me
say.
let me show you just because this is unprompted, right?
Okay, that's
Look
cool.
at my screensaver. My Power 5, my daily checklist. I've got to read my Bible. I got 30 minutes up or lower. I got a cardio. I got nutrition with 200 grams of protein. I need to fast and recover because that's my eating window.
And then you don't negotiate.
No.
The ritual. The
Right.
thing that keeps you sustained when there's no motivation, when you don't know when your paycheck's going to come in,
Mm-hmm.
when you don't know how your kids are going to get to school, when your daughter is over here doing some crap you don't have no business doing, when your man or your significant other is, when all the things that you cannot control around you are consuming you, it's the rituals, it's the habits, it's the reading your Bible every single day, no matter what it is. It's for some of my clients, it may not be the reading the Bible. It's the literally waking up and taking a deep breath that centers them into the place where they can get into the alignment
Mm-hmm.
space. But it is really that simple. But until we're able to sit down and dissect the simplicities of it, we're so overwhelmed because we think it is complex when it really is just the simplicities.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is.
And just for record, when this show airs, I want y'all to go back to December 17th and check my story from this morning.
Uh-huh.
I'm leaning over the rail and I put, it just came to me and I appreciate you saying that. But I said the challenge for today was to breathe, say thank you, and then breathe again
That's it.
and see how it goes.
I do a breathing exercise with every
Yes.
single one of my clients
Uh-huh.
before we start our sessions, every single time. And the breathing exercise is physically clearing the lungs and the mind so that you can be open to receive no matter what it is, right? So oxygen is what helps your body acclimate, it helps to clear, it helps to reset functions. For you, in order for you to do that, you have to be intentional about your breathing. The wonderful blessing about God is he gives us breath. But the other blessing about that is he gives us the choice to use that breath whenever we want to and whenever we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm breathing involuntarily right now, but in any moment, I can take the blessing of that breath
Mm-hmm.
and I can voluntarily and manually use it to reset my life
Yeah.
in any moment. Good Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
Amen.
Amen upon this
Amen.
thing.
And it's like, I hope you guys are seeing in this show that, everything that you talk about that you've read in a book that we hear by motivational speakers, let's be real. She's giving you a teaser of how she can turn that knob just a little bit
Just a
more.
little.
And the only way that I think we can really do this, and this is just coming from me, so please correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh.
I'm really good at teaching people how not to make those mistakes I may or may
Mm.
not have
Mhm,
made, and we'll
mhm.
kind of leave it at that because Courtney believes I'm perfect. Yeah, maybe if you got a camera over there, we'll show the true face on that one. It's
It's
a
a
big
big
one.
old smile. That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
When people ask her that, they're like, "What do you see when you see Brian?" She's like, "A big heart." I'm like, "Okay, so that means you see I'm not perfect. You know me, Brian.
That's right.
You know me." But as you're setting the table for somebody and you're bringing them there,
Mhm.
you've been there, done that, or is this stuff you read in the book? Shed a little light.
It's been there, done that. It's stuff I've read in a book. It's discovery. It's, search. It's divine guidance from God.
Yeah,
It's a collection of all that, permanently based on each client, right? And I do not address my clients based on my experience. I share my experience as a bridge for the gap of trust and vulnerability. But in actuality, it's not my experience that teaches them. My experiences teaches me how to teach someone else, or how to bring them to the well, or how to get the water for them to drink, right? It does not force their head to drink it. It does not force them to swallow, but it does bridge. It gives them the comfort to say, you know what? JQ just gave me some water. I know that if I drink this water, I can be well. And so that's why it's so important for us to share our testimonies. When it comes to the actual coaching side of that, my experiences are the only way that I feel like God could even open me up to it. You know, people trust books. They pay thousands of dollars to go for an education, but that education does not become viable until it's applicable. I say that. I went to college, came out of school, thought I was going to be a nurse. This is what I wanted. I changed my degree, my career like 14 times, even while in college. It wasn't until I got out and I started applying all the lessons that I learned from the books that helped me discover what I wanted to do. And then when I decided what I wanted to do, it wasn't until I laid it down to God for Him to decide how I was going to be able to live the dreams that He placed inside of me. You know what I'm saying? So, testimony and experience are the ways to bridge the gap. But it's not until we live it ourselves that we find success.
I love that. I love that. As I started this show, and maybe this is something that you've experienced, and this is how somebody helped me. And one of our former guests, Dr. Justin Mosley, shout out to you, bro. TEDx speaker, his last speech basically talked about the confidence of being able to share your story
Oh,
and your
yeah.
testimony. And he talked about years prior, he got up to speak and had an anxiety. And we've had a guest on the show who lost her voice when she had an impromptu guest speaking. And it's how do you start that?
You start your testimony with yourself. I started my testimony looking in the mirror. God, when I decided that I definitely wanted God to lead my life, He had to deal with me first. I had to deal with getting confident and getting vulnerable with my own story. Looking in the mirror, telling my own self my own story, and looking at myself and saying, JQ, your story is valid. You are okay. And you are on the other side. I had to get past thinking people would judge me. They are going to judge you. That's what the testimony is for. It's so that you can be judged,
Amen.
right? I mean, that's what it's for. But once you get real with yourself
Mhm.
and you get past your story, and until you're past it and you're through it, it's not a testimony yet. And sometimes we feel like we may be past something or we may be through it. But until we get in that mirror and it's just me and me and me and God and me
Yeah.
and me and real vulnerable. When I first got in the mirror, it was really just me and me. I was judging myself so hard, I thought I couldn't even share it with God. And I'm thinking, years later, Lord, JQ, you're so crazy. God already knew your story. He already knew you were going to be
Yeah.
going through this even before you knew
Right.
you were going to be going through,
Right.
right? So when we get real with ourselves, the reflection is where it starts.
Mhm.
It's the reflection is where it starts. I
Yeah.
do several sessions. Do several, programs with clients where that's the first thing we do when they sit in the chair as a consultation. Can you even look at yourself in the mirror? I have them hold a mirror and we look in the mirror and there's a silence. I turn on the timer and I need you to be able to look at yourself. Just look at yourself for 5 minutes without staring away from it, being distracted. Can you really look at your own self for 5 minutes without being distracted? I have so many people that break down in a 5 minutes of just looking at themselves. No words, Brian, no words. Just looking at yourself, seeing yourself. That's a hard process to do. It's very hard,
It
but it
is.
has to be done because if you can't see yourself, how can you expect others to see you? Trust the process through you. Believe in you if you can't do it for yourself. So I believe in selfishness.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
teach self-love. That is
Mhm,
a major foundation of my entire life. I got through my 20s and 30s barely, but it was really in my 40s
mhm,
and when I had cancer is when I really started to break the boundaries and understand that self was the thing that I really had to take care of. I
mhm.
had to do self. And when I began to focus on self and let God show me myself, that's when life changed for me.
Yeah.
Incredible, incredible changes.
100% understand, been there. And, a friend of mine, he does a great job of mentoring. And one of the things he says is you have to look in the mirror and forgive yourself.
Yep.
And you have to say it.
You have to say it.
And I've had people say they can't speak, and you've seen it. And most of the ones that I've worked with have been, hey, I suggest, and they come back to me because they don't even want to be
Yep.
around when they have this.
Self thing.
I don't know, and I've struggled with that, but at the same time, I've always been able to look at it like, hey, you've gotten here, bro.
Right.
Remember that when you thought it was over back then,
Yep.
or this was the end and this is the worst thing. And unfortunately, I had a friend call me the other day and he's going through a divorce and things are happening. And it was
Mm-hmm.
he was surprised by it. And I'm listening to him and I'm talking to him and I'm there for him. And we're all grown and we have to look at it like, okay, this is where we're at and there's no kids. And it's at the same time, he wasn't able to follow what he coaches and teaches, and I'm not gonna say his name because he was in the mess and he had to turn to me.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have people you go to?
Oh
You
God, yeah.
have, like,
What you say, brother?
I mean,
Shoot, I had a whole cry ball out of control session with a friend the other day.
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
saying in real life.
yeah.
We are all human, folks.
Mhm.
Shoot, coaches, mentors, leaders, homeless or not, millionaires or zip nose in there. You
Yes,
feel me?
yes, yeah.
Humans. Recognizing first that feelings aren't real, but they are valid. Feelings help us connect to situations and they give us real, tangible outpourings
Mhm,
of what we may be experiencing or that is unclear on the inside, right? And so we have to recognize that when those things or those emotions or feelings come over us, that we do have to act upon them,
mhm,
but they don't have to validate who we are
right.
or what we're going through. And so, yeah, shoot, I'm super emotional, a feeling girl,
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
those kind of things. I got to pray before I go into a session, whether it's a holistic session, a branding session, a building session. Shoot, I got to pray sometimes when I get on the phone with my kid. You feel me? So that God can keep me grounded in what's valid and not what's emotional
And now you're talking.
in
Now you're
real
talking. Yeah,
time,
yeah,
you know? Because it's true.
yeah.
But I also have to recognize that when those feelings come upon me, I have to get through them. I
Yes,
have to recognize them. I
yes,
have to let them go, but I
yes.
cannot allow them to lead and guide
Mhm.
me, right?
Yeah, and I wanted to make sure that this show gave as much of a picture of you as we could,
Mhm.
because maybe some of the people that follow us haven't met you yet, and what I want them to show is you not only became vulnerable, you're still
I'm
vulnerable.
still
You're
vulnerable.
still
I'm still vulnerable.
you. You're just a better version of
Oh,
you
yeah?
because you found better ways to do things, and that starts with your faith
Yep.
and who you surround yourself with. So
That's a big one.
I'm talking to my kids right now, and share that with us. Like,
Yeah.
how do you decide? Because, sometimes when you build a studio in the back of a toy hauler, you find a lot of friends you didn't know you had, and they all want to, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Hey, we're going
Yeah.
to,
You find a lot of associates and vagabonds.
there it is. So, how did you find who to be around? And you don't have to say, well, I got rid of this person, but you can if you want to. But,
Yeah, well, I
because,
did.
yeah.
The first and foremost, I kind of don't find people to
Hmm.
be around and I don't let people find me. I kind of allow God to guide my footsteps. And when I stay centered and focused on God guiding my footsteps, I trust that He's going to surround me with the right people. They may not always be the people that I recognize. They may not always even be the people that I say that I would have chosen for me. But I surrendered my life to God and I have to keep that promise to myself and to God. And it's not easy. Last night at a recording of my own situation, I was surrounded by someone I did not want to be there. You feel me? I did not want. But my prayer rituals and the things that I do before I move forward with anything, God said he needs to be there. He needs to be in the room. 12 hours later, I understood why God needed him to be in the room. But in the moment of those feelings that were there and valid, but not real, God showed me myself and said, you promised me that you would allow me to guide you, right? And so, first and foremost, I allow God to guide my footsteps. Second of all, I don't attach myself to anything or anyone. I'm talking not my mom, not my daughter, not even myself. My attachment is to God. So in real and true time, he's the only thing I'm surrounded by. He's my infinite source of surrounding, and he provides the protection of anyone else being a get allowed to, puncture that surrounding or get into that surrounding. And when I stay authentic to his guidance, he hasn't steered me wrong yet. And the people that are there for whenever he says they're supposed to be. And when they're gone, I don't even have to clear them out. I don't even have to say you're fired or you need to get on out the way. God does his thing, baby. And sometimes it's him removing me. More times than none, Brian, it's been God saying, no, JQ, I told you no.
Yeah.
You know what? Since you're not going to listen to me, let me go ahead and do the thing for you. Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I literally let God do his thing. And I work on staying as focused and as grounded on him guiding my footsteps, no matter how hard or how many feelings or emotions or how much my humanized brain wants to take control. And it does sometimes. But God will be like, yo, Jay.
Yeah.
And the God I serve, he talks to me like that. He
Right.
knows how to get my attention.
Right.
It's not like, yo, thou daughter of me, I prefer that you not to do that. It's
Right.
God be like, girl, I told you. You
Right.
feel?
Right.
He talks to me like he knows that
Right.
I can understand it. Sometimes it is a slap on the head, or sometimes it's I'm putting you on restriction.
Buddy of mine heard me say one time, I looked up, I said, thanks, bro. And he's like, what was that? I was just telling him thanks. Like, my bro, like,
Yes.
that's how I felt in that moment.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
There are certain times that our kids, I'll tell you this funny real quick. And I'm thankful that I get to meet people like you because I'm now going to be able to share with my family, my people. It's like, see so many different people. And I'm going to be vulnerable here for a second. I debated on whether to say this, but I'm going to be vulnerable here. If I would have seen your story at a different time in my life, it would not have really resonated with me. And so I think about, and I think it was before the show that I said, I was told, hey, I need to meet Jay. I got to go find JQ. This, you got to have, and it took a little while for like to get in the same room and to be vulnerable. There's just certain times. And then it's like, okay, all right, wow, that does work. When you really give it to God. And I will say today before the show, I said something to Courtney. I said, selfishly, I want this. And I recognize that. So I'm telling you so that I can say it and let it go and just let this how God has it. Right. And guide my footsteps. Yeah. And then those people that do come around. And like you said, there's one part that I struggle with, and I think some people do too. How, like you said, and maybe you said, God says, let it go, or he removes you. But what are some things that you wish you would have seen sooner or like, hey, that person's season is done?
Yeah, I totally understand that question because there have been seasons in my life where God sent the signs, I got the confirmations, but because I was being selfish and not selfless, I made it about me. And when I stayed longer than what I should, or I didn't recognize or didn't heed to what God's calling was on my life in that moment to move or be removed, I suffered the consequences. Your mama always tells you a hard head make a hard behind. I know that comes from God because that's how he teaches me.
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
contrary to a lot of spiritual people and religious, God doesn't chastise. Oh, baby. God has whipped my tail.
Yeah.
He has beat me with a stick.
Yeah.
Probably broke me down with a whip on a chain. You feel me?
Yeah.
Because that's
Because he knows you.
he knows me. And so there have been times in my life, Brian, even as far as recently, I closed down all my gyms in January of 2025. Told me 3 years ago to do it. But because of my big head and my ego and my pride of, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've established myself as this.
Mm.
I got to have this gym, this brick and mortar. It took
Right.
me forever to get this thing.
I've
I
been
can't
there.
believe that God really wants. No, that's the devil.
Yeah.
You try to play it out in all these scenarios.
Mhm.
And God took me through there.
Mm.
And when I finally decided again to ground myself and walk in the
Mhm.
guidance of God and
Mhm.
let it go, I thought I was going to experience so much emotional turmoil. And I
Oh,
thought I
yeah.
was going to have,
Oh, yeah.
all this, oh God, I can't do it. My life is going to be over. I'm never going to have any money anymore. Nobody's going to trust me. And all of
Oh,
these
yeah.
things I thought I was going to experience, none of it.
Mhm.
None of it. I experienced so much more
Mhm.
craziness for the 3 years it took me to finally say, "Okay, God,"
Mm.
than I did when I did say, "Okay, God."
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so when that season or when God moves you past something, the hardest thing is for us to remove the selfish from it and become selfless through God.
And I'm hearing that word habit again.
Yeah. Habit.
Yeah. I'm hearing
Habit.
that word habit again.
Habit.
Right?
Yeah. Ego, pride, habit, all of
So,
those operate in the same farm.
yeah. What's do you have something coming in the spring of 26 coming out?
Yeah, I do.
See, I did do my research. Come on now. Let's make sure we give a shout out there. What's coming out?
I got a new book coming.
Yes.
Yeah, I won the NaMoWriMo challenge, and this past year has been, oh my God. Jesus, you have been definitely challenging me, right? I'm used to writing.
Mhm.
I've written for 22 publications in my life, and I love words. My mom, oh my God, she's been such an influential. My mom used to make us read the dictionary growing up and play Scrabble with us. Until this day, she still sends us a word of the day.
Yeah.
Makes us,
Yeah.
and so I'm a word lover of words. And the NaMoWriMo challenge I wrote during COVID was the first time that I ever really had to really sit down, and I wasn't able to move
Mm.
through life the way I normally move, from here, city to here to there, boom, pom, poom. I had to sit down and sit with myself and find ways to do that in my own home. Lord, woo! And I did. I found ways. And so I rediscovered a lot of my journals, cleaning out my storage during that time, and was like, oh God, dang, I got some words I could write. And
Yeah.
so God told me to share my story from the pole to the palace.
Mhm.
And so it's a is an autobiographical story of how I transformed from one side of life to the other side of life,
Mm.
from, the exotic entertainment world into serial entrepreneurship, something that I didn't know was a dream,
Mhm.
didn't know how to make it real, but it became real and recognizable for me in the exotic
Mhm.
entertainment world, right? And so I started writing just because it was something God said I needed to write
Mm.
myself through,
Yeah.
write myself through. And my friend Toya, I used to go to a journal and a writing thing with her, and she was like, "Oh, JQ, you can do it. You can do it." And it was so emotional for me, but it really helped me. And so when it came for the NaMoWriMo challenge, it was like, okay, you have to write 50,000 words in 30 days. And so to set myself up to be a writer, I wanted to call myself and have another title. I want to be a real writer, not
Yeah.
someone who just writes. I want
Right.
to be an author. I want to have a life as an author and a writer. I want something that's mine. I did the NaMoWriMo challenge just to say that I was a writer. Never imagined that I would win or that my story would be picked up or any of that. And when I submitted this piece of work from the pole to the palace and I got the feedback from there, it was like, my God, somebody's going to read my story. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, oh my God. Like the real story.
Yeah.
And so I've been going through this year working with real editors, real publishing
Right.
companies.
Right.
Baby, they have not sacrificed anything on telling me the real deal on
Yeah.
my work.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
it has definitely shaped me and
Mhm.
crafted me into the professional side
Mhm.
of being a writer,
Yeah.
and so I'm really excited. March is when the actual release is supposed to
Okay.
happen. And I'm really, really super excited about it. This body of work that I'm going to put out is going to be very transparent. The characters, of course, in the book have been kind of realigned and
Mhm.
dramatized to make it a real story,
Awesome.
but it is mine.
Yeah.
And this creative process has opened me up to be able to also share and level up so many things for the people
Mhm.
that I work with and
Mhm.
businesses and the branding and the product development side of my business as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a lifelong learner. I
Mhm.
love learning. I
Yeah.
love discovering. I love researching,
Yeah.
which is why I dive into so many different aspects of things.
Right.
But I'm really excited about the Pole to the Palace. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of been on the down low a little bit because
Yeah.
I've been working through it, baby. And those editors, every time I would get something back, Jesus, when they say all the red, and it back in the day, it used to be a big thick thing you get in
Yeah.
the mail and it's
Yeah.
got red marks. Now it's all digital and that's just as bad. God, it's like flip red,
Right.
red,
Right.
red, red. Oh God.
It's the
It
process
it
again, right?
is
The
the
process.
process.
The
It's
process.
the
Well, there's something that you hit on right there, and I want to hit this point, and then we'll wrap up the show. But it's when I hear people tell their story, and the coolest part, because I know I've gone back in my own life,
hmm
and I've looked back at times that no, I was not in alignment with God's plan, but God was there. And those things that you wrote at a certain time in life, and you look back and you're like, "Okay, God, I see you. I see
Yes.
you shining bright right there back
Right there.
in, whatever year, whatever time." And it's like, sorry I was so hard-headed, to get here, but it really is like there's so many people as a former professional athlete,
Mhm.
and Courtney was a collegiate athlete. And the people that were that, and
Mhm.
now what? And now how do I continue? And what's my identity? And how do I find all these things?
Mhm.
So, how many times in writing this book were you able to look back and say, God and God and God? Like, how evident is it in your story now?
You know, the funniest thing why you say that is because I know he had me write it, so he was showing me how evident he was.
Yeah.
So I could see it for myself, which is why part of my program is writing evidence for yourself, writing the 54 every single year that you've made the money so that, you know what, here's evidence that you already have been a millionaire. Here's evidence that God has been in your life, has been a part of your life, has carried you through since birth, since the planting of the seed, right? Even when you didn't acknowledge him, JQ, or even when you were connecting yourself from him on
Mhm.
purpose. My mom's a minister.
Mm.
I've been in church, been a child of God. I've been baptized so many times. I can't, I'm talking water baptized, rededicated my life, all the things,
Right,
when
right,
it comes to that.
right.
But how many times during this writing this book, every time I get it back from the editor and I have to rewrite something or reread something, every time I open up my devotional and I reread the same devotional over and over and over again, God shows himself to me differently. And sometimes the different is the same difference that he showed me each time. You know, he's dealing with me right now on some character flaws, some powerful pride
Mhm,
character flaws
mhm,
that I have,
mhm.
as it pertains to going forward with this new business adventure that I have, and my story repeats itself where he's been showing it to me. And so the question then becomes, and I know it's not a question for him, but it's a question for me. JQ, why in the heck does God have to keep showing
Yeah,
you this
yeah,
same
yeah.
thing? Why haven't you overcome this same situation yet? Well, I don't know the answer to this, but all I can say is thank God for his grace and his mercy
Mhm.
and that he doesn't give up on me,
Yeah,
even sometimes when I give up on myself.
yeah.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. I think that's so cool that you're able to open up, share the truth. This
hmm
is the real story.
hmm
This is where I've been. This is where I am now. And I'm looking forward to see where you're going in the future.
Yeah,
And
me
there's so
too.
many, like, what if you'd have stayed in education? What if you'd have stayed over here? What if you'd have, how miserable would your life be? But
What
hey, we
ifs?
won't say that, right?
What ifs,
No.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I try not to live in the what ifs
Yeah.
because what ifs will keep you stuck.
They will.
God doesn't live in what ifs.
Yeah.
He forgives us 70 times 70.
Hmm.
It's ourselves
Hmm.
that we have to let go of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We can't live in the what ifs.
Yeah.
We can't live in shoulda, coulda, wouldas. God doesn't live there. We cannot live there. We don't even have control over that. He gives us choice. He gave us the apple, and in the beginning, God decided He was going to give us a choice. It's up to God. It's up to us.
Yeah.
We have to be the decision makers for our own lives,
Yeah.
and you can choose then, now, or maybes. That's what I call them. Because the future are always maybes because we don't know. But the future for me is never a maybe. My future is always a yes, especially when I keep God first
Yes.
because I know that God is a yes for me.
Hmm.
So I can choose the now and I let God be the yes for my future.
And that takes work,
It does
and
take
you
work
got to
every
go
day.
through it, and you got to go through it.
Every day. And your through is not measured by 10 or 20.
Hmm.
Your through is measured by you.
Yes.
I hate it when humans put a measure on, murder one versus murder two versus I accidentally killed somebody or, I knocked somebody out. That is not how God judges us.
Yeah.
There's no measurement. The law of the land, humans decided to put a measurement on the context of things so that we could live accordingly with each other.
Yeah.
But that is not how we are judged. A lie is a lie. A lie that led to a murder or a lie that led to your mama dying,
Yeah.
it's still judged by God
Yeah.
as a lie.
Right.
A theft is a theft.
Mhm.
Whether you stole it because you needed money and you were homeless,
Yeah.
or whether you stole it from somebody and you were just being, big headed.
Yeah.
A thief is a thief.
Yeah.
God does not say, well, you get a 10 because you stole this and, oh, you only stole chapstick. So, I'm going to give you a 5. So
Right.
when we look in that mirror and we judge ourselves,
Mhm.
take the measurement away from
Mhm.
it. Judge yourself based on
Yeah.
moving past what we've done, the coulda, the shoulda, the wouldas, and
Mhm.
choose the now and let God be the future for your yes.
JQ, normally I ask the guest if they want to say something to wrap up the show, but it's not going to get any better than that.
Hey,
I mean, you had it nailed right there. That was perfect.
hey, boom shakalaka.
That was
Thank you,
perfect.
God.
Perfect. That
Thank
was
you.
perfect.
On and popping. I
Thank you.
told you.
Thank you. Guys, thank you for watching Podcast on Wheels. If you want to go follow JQ, social media will be in the comments. If you have a comment, question, reach out to her. If you want to work with her, reach out. We'll get you in touch with her. Thanks again for watching.